Well, everybody, welcome into the Wiregrass High School Football Report. This is your weekly look at all things high school football in the Wiregrass. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, the in-studio host and producer for DOTA Wars Football on 96.9, The Legend. I want to apologize to everybody. There was not a podcast last week. I know, I apologize. Just some stuff happened last week. Couldn't get to the show. But back this week with a really fun episode. I'm going to be joined in a little bit by Elba head coach Marc Sieving, the number one ranked Elba Tigers in 1A. We will look back at the Tigers' 40-7 victory over Providence Christian this past Friday night. We'll also talk about that number one ranking for Elba. We will talk about Elba getting their 600th win in school history on Friday night. And we'll look ahead to their return to region play this Friday against Red Level. So some good stuff there. We'll have a 16-minute conversation with head coach Marc Sieving of the Elba Tigers. Also, of course, we'll go around the Wiregrass, look at last week's scores, results. Pretty much everybody was out of region play last week, so some interesting and some fun non-region matchups last week in the Wiregrass. And, of course, we'll look ahead to this week's games. Some big region matchups are coming up in all the regions, so we'll go over that. We'll have some Thursday night games, and this schedule could change between when you hear this and when the games do kick off this week due to the hurricane out there in the Gulf or headed toward the Gulf. When you're listening to this podcast, at the moment, it does look like we will be impacted with some sort of weather. It does look like it's moving more eastward, but precautions are being made. There are some games that have already been announced and moved to Thursday night. I'll talk about that in the schedule part of the podcast. But as of now, the other games I'll say are still being played on Friday night. Just keep an eye out on local weather. You can always listen to either 95.5 the TVY, 96.9 the Legend, or 106.7 KMX. They will keep you updated on everything that is happening with the hurricane. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on TV stations, all your local news outlets, and see what's going on with this storm, and just be prepared and be safe with it coming this direction. But we are going to get into some high school football talk. I'm not going to try to play meteorologist here on the Wiregrass High School Football Report. Before we jump into the high school football conversations, let's tell you where you can find me in the podcast. You can find me on social media at PJordanSEC. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, so please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. You can also listen to the podcast over on 969thelegend.com, so go check it out. You can also find it over there on the app. You can also check out the show on my YouTube page, Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube channel. Just go to the page, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all the notifications. And if you leave a comment on an episode of the Wiregrass High School Football Report, I will also read that on a future edition of the show. Now, I'm going to take a quick time out. When we return, we will go around the Wiregrass. High school football season is here, and that means DOTA Wars football is back on 96.9, The Legend. Make sure to check out the Wolves every Friday night throughout high school football season as Jerry Coleman, Ken Lambert, and myself bring you all the action every Friday with pregame starting at 6:45 and kickoff at 7. The DOTA Wolves this Friday will be hosting the Central Phoenix City Red Devils in a big 7A Region 2 matchup. So make sure to check out the DOTA Wolves on 96.9 The Legend and also listen to us on the app. And now back to the Wiregrass High School Football Report. All right, everybody, and it's that time of the show where we go around the Wiregrass looking at the previous week's scores. And we're going to start off on Thursday. Charles Henderson with an upset victory over 3A number 3 ranked St. James, winning 26-14. Charles Henderson goes to 4-1 on the season. This game was tied at 14 before Zach Coleman scored a 7-yard touchdown. And then Jawan Boyd returned a punt for a touchdown to put Charles Henderson up 26-14 to put the game away. Number 2 in 2A, Highland Home defeated number 4 in 1A Brantley 28-27, and that puts Brantley at 4-2 on the season. On Friday night, of course, this is a game you would have heard on 96.9 The Legend. The Dothan Wolves defeated Baker 43-15 to go to 5-1 on the year. Now, this was not a region game, but this was a battle between two 7A teams. Baker is in Region 1, the Mobile region, and this is a potential playoff team as well for Baker, and who knows, if some things happen, these two could play each other again in the postseason. Dothan took an early lead with a 3-yard touchdown by Raymond Blackman, and then Baker did tie the game with 4 minutes left in the first quarter with a touchdown run by Zion Davis. Then with 1:19 left in the first, Marion Peterson scored a 19-yard touchdown. Then Dothan went for 2 to go up 15-7. Baker would come back and tie the game at 15 with 5:17 left until halftime. Baker would not score again, though, for the rest of the game. To close out the half, Octavius Thomas would cap off a drive with a 1-yard touchdown to give Dothan a 22-15 halftime lead. The Wolves used a lot of clock in the third, and Zach Walker would extend the lead to 29-15 with an 18-yard run with 1:55 left in the third. Corian Salter adding in another defensive touchdown for the Wolves with a 65-yard scoop and score to put the Wolves up 36-15. And then in the fourth quarter, to close out the scoring, A.J. Alexander ran in a 3-yard touchdown with 7:11 left to put Dothan up 43-15. On the game, Dothan had 386 yards rushing. Peterson had 108, Blackman had 87, and Thomas had 78. Eufaula defeated Pell County 54-35 to go to 4-1 on the year. Andalusia defeated Bibb County 55-18 to remain unbeaten at 6-0. Montgomery Catholic defeated Pike Liberal Arts 56-0. Slocum defeated Ashford 39-20. Slocum improves to 2-3. Ashford drops to 0-5. For Slocum, Rashawn Miller had 221 yards and 5 touchdowns. On defense, Brody Campbell had 8 tackles in the game. Number 9 ranked in 3A, Houston Academy defeated Abbeville 49-0 to go to 5-0 on the year. Abbeville drops to 2-4. Houston Academy quarterback Caden Mitchell had 225 yards passing and 5 touchdowns on 12 of 14 passing. Ott defeated Rehoboth 23-13. Ott goes to 5-1. Rehoboth drops to 1-4. Ott quarterback Gray Jennings had 240 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game. Pike County defeated Headland in a close one, 18-13. Pike County's Ian Foster had a 90-yard kickoff return to give them the late lead in that one. We were going to talk to Coach Sieving in a little bit, but as I told you in the open, Elba number 1 in 1A defeated Providence 40-7 to go to 5-0 on the year. Providence drops to 2-3. Ayrton defeated Strawn 28-14. Ayrton running back Jordan Smith had 158 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game. The game was tied at 14 after the third, so it was a close game going into the fourth. Ayrton goes to 5-1. Strawn drops to 4-1 on the year. Daleville gets their 3rd consecutive win of the season by defeating Barber County 53-0 to get to 3-3. Barber County drops to 0-6. Daleville running back Marion Pinckney had 4 touchdowns in the game. Cottonwood defeated Graceville 56-6 to go to 3-2 on the year. Dale County defeated GW Long 26-22. GW Long is ranked 7th in 2A going into last week. So Dale County now has their 2nd win of the year, going 2-4, and GW Long is 3-2. For Dale County, Christian Ross had 98 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. Of course, he's the Memphis commit. And then running back Kendrick Jordan had 131 yards and 1 touchdown for Dale County. Florala defeated Sampson 28-14 to go to 4-1. Sampson drops to 0-5. Goshen defeated Kinston 63-19 to go to 4-2. Kinston is 1-4. Zion Chapel defeated Pleasant Home 28-19. Both teams are now 2-3 on the year. In a really, really fun, high-scoring game, Geneva defeated Geneva County 40-33. Geneva's 2-4. Geneva County is now 1-4 on the year. For Geneva, Noah Johnson had 170 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. For Geneva County, quarterback Caden Hutchins had 240 yards passing, 2 touchdowns on 10 of 12 passing. And finally, Lowndes Academy defeated Abbeville Christian, 50-19, and that puts Abbeville Christian at 2-3. And that is around the Wiregrass, the scores all around the area this past week. And now, let's jump into my conversation with Elba head coach Marc Sieving. Everybody, joining me on this week's edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report is Elba Tigers head coach Marc Sieving. They are now 5-0, reaching the midway point of the high school football season. Coach Sieving, congratulations on the win on Friday night over Providence, and I appreciate you once again coming on the show and talk about your team.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you having us, and excited to be here.
Oh yeah, it was a 40-7 non-region victory for you guys on Friday night, but also a big historic win for the school, the 600 victory for the Elba Tigers.
Yeah, it's awesome. Our kids were really excited to be a part of that history, and of course, most of them didn't even know earlier in the week till we let them know that that this game could possibly be our 600th win, and so I do think it added a little motivation for the kids. They wanted to be a part of that, and man, it's I tell you, it says a lot about Elba and the history of the program and the history of the town to get 600 wins. Man, that's a bunch. It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah, just going around town, going into it. Any of the people in the community of Elba, were they letting you know about it? Were they telling you some stories going into that and coming out of that? Yeah,
I'll tell you, man. I've got one of the best Elba historians is on our staff, Johnny Dice, and Johnny played at Elba, and man, he's always telling us stories. And we got a couple other coaches, Coach Johnson and our Coach Austin Johnson and his father are both Elba guys that played. So yeah, we hear about those stories a lot, and man, it's awesome. Makes me proud to be a part of the program, and I know our kids are proud to have got that win against Providence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, like I said, with people on your staff that are from Elba that play for Elba, that made it special for them being part of that as well, just as the players.
Absolutely, man. They, like I said, we had the quarterback club meeting on Friday, and we were talking about it a little bit there, and had some of our players there, and you could, after the game, some of the former players were down there on the field and all, so mingling about. So it was awesome. It was cool to be a part of.
And then going into this game, obviously y'all were coming off the bye week. You had a huge win before this one. Like I said, going to the bye week. What was key for your team during that bye week going into this game?
Yeah, well, we had, like you said, we had just come off the Brantley win, and going into the bye week, our main focus was, even though we were 4-0 at the time, we still felt like we really hadn't, played a complete game, up to our standard. And we had a bad half against Houston County, and had a bad half against Kinston in the first half, and kind of did that in the second half against Brantley. So we wanted to definitely clean some things up, and then our main message going into this week was, I'll tell you, Providence in my mind is a quality opponent. They had played some tough games, and I thought we were really going to have our hands full with them, but I knew that if we went out there and took care of business and did it for the whole game, that we could come out on top, and really felt like we got that accomplished. We came out there and I think we were leading 14-0 with like 2 minutes left in the half, and in a matter of 40 seconds, it was 28-0 going into halftime, and came back out in the second half, and man, we just did more of the same. Really challenged our guys at halftime to, hey, let's keep the pressure on, keep doing what we've been doing, and our guys responded, man. They're it was good to see. So I feel like we really took a step in the right direction.
Yeah, your fast start got up by 2 touchdowns really quickly there. And I'll ask you about one of them. Your running back, Alvin Henderson, had 5 touchdowns on the game, 224 yards. But one of his touchdowns was on a 4th and goal on the one. I know as a coach, you're glad your player scored a touchdown. But when you see your running back, your player kind of flip into the end zone, as a head coach, does it kind of say, whoa, don't do that? Or you just, what's the reaction there when you see that kind of score?
Man, you can't tell him not to do it. I mean, he's when he gets the ball in his hands, he's a competitor, and he wants to win for our guys, and do his best. And he's not he's not all the way there yet. He's got still a lot of things he can improve on, but you know, man, you know, he wanted it, and he went and got it. So that was actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, you know, you just mentioned it. You were up by 2 scores, and then you got 2 more toward the end of the first half. But there was an interesting exchange of turnovers between you guys and Providence there at a point in the game. I know Cameron Gray got an interception. Then next play, Alvin Henderson did fumble the ball, and then it looks like you guys got an interception back. Providence caught the ball, and then there was a fumble recovery by Braden Johnson in that stretch, and then you went on with the 2 scores there to end the first half. Just from your vantage point there on the sideline, seeing what was going on during that little exchange you and Providence had with those turnovers.
Yeah, it was wild, man. I mean, we, like you said, we got the interception, and then ended up, and Alvin actually had a really nice run and fumbled it. And kind of thought that he might have been down, but after looking at it, he wasn't. It was a legitimate fumble. So, you know, and then, you know, the two were, our guy and the receiver from Providence fighting for that ball, and their kid coming up with it. And then, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm just glad, you know, I believe we scored on the next play after Braden got that fumble. That's when we ran that, our little play to the blocking back that went, you know, almost 80-something yards. So, which was an awesome play and awesome moment in the game. I'll tell you, man, I got to give a lot of credit to our success to Al Gilmore, our offensive coordinator. Man, he does an outstanding job, and man, I'll tell you, he's a real student of the game. And you know, last year, I mean, we were averaging 40 points a game, and it looks like we're on track to do that again this year. And you know, I don't care who you're playing, man. If they're scoring 40 a game, it's going to be tough to beat them. So, and then this year, you know, we added Coach Johnny Dice as our defensive coordinator, and of the 3 years that I've been here, this defense is doing better than any of the previous 2. So, you know, it's I feel like we've got everything moving in the right direction. You know, and we're not going to tell the kids that we're going to go to work on Monday and we're going to go to work on Tuesday, and we're going to try to improve every single day. And, you know, that's just, we just got to stay focused in that regard on that, you know.
Yeah, talking about the defense, of course, you know, on that, after that, it was 88 yards. Caden Atkins and then Alvin Henderson scored another one. You guys were at 27, I believe, going into halftime. But your defense, and I was looking at some numbers before we got ready to talk. In 1A, you guys are ranked 10th in points allowed, 12.4 points a game allowed so far on the season. And who have been some of the standouts on the defensive side of the ball, you know, this past Friday night and just, you know, all season for you guys?
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, we lost a bunch of guys last year, you know, so going into spring was really big for us, determining, trying to figure out where all the pieces were going to fit. And, you know, we've got one guy that's really stood out for us is Jacob Watkins. Jacob is a sophomore. He's in Alvin's class. And, you know, he played JV last year, and tell you the truth, I mean, he was just one we were hoping could help us some way. And, man, he just came out in the spring, had a really good spring, and ended up being our middle linebacker. And, I'll tell you, the kid's making plays all over the field for us on defense. He's really got a knack for the football, and, you know, the more I watch him, the more he's starting to remind me a little bit of Christoph Caldwell from last year. So, and he's just a 10th grader, so really excited, you know, at what he brings to the defense. His leadership is also something. He's a natural leader, and so, man, we're excited about him, but also we got a kid that hasn't played football up to this point. That's a senior, Lakai Reynolds at safety. And Lakai, man, I bet he had about 6-7 tackles last night. And then we've got the Gray brothers at cornerback. I believe both of them had a pick Friday night. So both of them had an interception, and you know, they're showing that some really good coverage skills. And then we've got those linemen that are you know, that are beefed up. And, man, we got some dudes like Jamal Seiler, Kyle Smith, Emmanuel Cooks, Caleb Mitchell. And, you know, it's hard to run when you got some 260s in there, you know, plugging up the holes. So really excited about our defense and how far they've come. And we still got a lot of places we can work on to get better and improve. But you know, the great thing about it is, man, is, you know, we've only got 4 seniors. So, we're going to have a lot of these guys back next year, and they're going to have experience. And, of course, that doesn't mean anything, in regards to now. I mean, we want to win now. So we got to get them better every day. And that's the focus, just trying to improve every single day.
And, of course, you guys, y'all are ranked number 1 in 1A. And just what's been the message with the team, their attitude toward that? Because, you always see it in, I think, high school and at the college level, too. When you're ranked number 1, teams may get up a little bit, higher for you than maybe they would before. So what's been the message or the team's, just outlook on that ranking and just, go about their business day in and day out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, initially, when kind of the way when we talked about it is, hey, it's cool that it's happened, and now let's put it in perspective. It means nothing. Mm-hmm. It literally means nothing. So, it doesn't give you a pass anywhere. You don't get a free steak dinner. You don't get anything. So, all of that is determined in December. And that's what we're focused on, man. Is let's take them week by week and try to get to the playoffs and take them game by game. And we don't put much credence into that because like I said, it's cool that it's there, but it's not going to do anything to help us. So it's not going to do anything to make us better. So we need to focus on the things that are going to do that.
Yeah, I think those things are more for people like me to talk about, not the teams themselves on those rankings right. And everything else. This Friday, of course, you go back into region play. You will be playing Red Level. They're 3-2. They did lose Bullitt County this past week, but they had 3 straight wins before that. I know head coach Kenny Skipper's been there for a few years. Just we are doing this conversation on a Sunday evening, but from what you've seen from Red Level, what have you seen, and what are some things you kind of you got to be ready to play on Friday night?
Yeah, they've got a real explosive quarterback. He kind of leads their team. Man, he's got a really good arm, and he can throw the ball down the field. And then he's their main runner also. So he's fast and quick, shifty, all of those things. So trying to keep him contained is going to be a challenge. And we're also, I talked to Coach today. We're also a little concerned about the weather coming in. So don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to talk with the administration, but there's also a chance, that the game could be moved to Thursday because of all that going on coming in later the week. But man, they're definitely a tough opponent, and like you said, I believe they're 2-1 or 3-0 in the region, and so yeah, I mean, it's a region game that makes it an important game. So we're looking forward to them coming and having another home game, and I'm sure they're going to be a worthy opponent.
And real quickly on that, just to follow up, just if the game gets moved to Thursday, of course, you've already have experience with that with a game a couple weeks ago against Brantley that did get moved during the week to a Thursday. What does that do with the team? Does it really change anything when you get like an instant change like that, not a scheduled deal? Or what was it like that week? And if that does happen this week, what would it be like for you guys, you think?
Yeah, we didn't make that decision until Wednesday afternoon. So, really, we went out that when we found out, after we decided to move it, we went out and had our normal Wednesday practice. We didn't change anything. So, we were out there in pads and, and that was brought up, hey, should we go out in shorts since we're playing tomorrow and all that? But, I felt like, Wednesday's still a big day for us to hammer down, what our game plan is and all that. So we went out in full pack and had our normal practice, and then that was it. I think what we did the next day was during the class that I have them all in, is we just kind of shortened the Thursday practice into that class and just did a little walkthrough. So still felt like we got everything in, and I think the roughest part about the whole thing was getting up, coming to work Friday morning. I mean, after a long night, but no, the kids are resilient, man. Nothing really bothers them, and they're down for whatever. So
yeah, we'll see. Well, like I said, I feel like I'll have to pretend to be a weatherman between now and then, kind of figure out when figure out when games are going to be played.
You just can't ever tell what it's going to do. So every time I see it, it looks like it's pushing west, kind of back towards us. So it's a little concerning, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope that thing stays away from our part of the. Or I hope everybody's safe, whoever that thing does end up hitting. But Coach, I do appreciate you coming on the show, talking about the Elba Tigers, previewing the matchup this Friday or Thursday, whenever the game is played against Red Level. Anything I didn't ask you about your team or just the community there in Elba that you want to talk about?
No, man, I think we pretty much covered it. And like I said, there's I appreciate you calling me and talking to me, but there's so many people and behind the scenes that are responsible for our success and for just our day-to-day operations. And I want to express to them how much I appreciate them and all of us working together. I mean, we're trying to do great things with these boys and just appreciate the community of Elba for the support and looking forward to seeing everybody this Friday night or Thursday night.
Absolutely, Coach. And once again, I appreciate the time and good luck this Friday against Red Level.
Okay, thanks, Phillip.
Make sure to tune in to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show, brought to you by Property Champions, every Thursday at 8 o'clock on 96.9 The Legend. Each week, Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert sit down with Dothan Wolves head coach Jed Kennedy to look back at the Dothan Wolves' previous game and look ahead to the upcoming opponent. This Thursday on the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show, Coach Kennedy will recap and break down the Dothan Wolves' 43-15 victory over Baker and preview their big 7A Region 2 home matchup with Central Phoenix City Red Devils. If you missed the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show, you can also check out the podcast on 96.9 The Legend. Now back to the Wiregrass High School Football Report. All right, once again, thanks to Coach Marc Sieving for coming on the show. I always appreciate him taking the time out, coming on the podcast and talking Elba Tigers football with us. Now let's look at the schedule for this coming week of high school football. And like I said earlier in the show, with the hurricane situation, a bunch of games, all of them, who knows, may get moved to Thursday night. But right now, only 4 have been moved. So that's the 4 I'm going to tell you about. But just keep an eye on everything and, stay safe, stay weather alert. Remember, you can check out 95.5 WTVY, 96.9 The Legend, and 106.7 KMX. They'll keep you up to date on everything going on with the weather. But I'll just keep on your eye on all local media to find out what's going on with the storm and where it's going, and then just stay safe out there. On Thursday night, 3A Region 2 matchups have been moved to Thursday. 0-5 Ashford will be at 3-3 Delville. 2-3 Northside will be playing at 2-3 Providence. And then 4-1 Strong will be at 5-0 Houston Academy. That should be a really good game between those two. In 1A Region 2, 4-1 Florala will play 0-6 Houston County. Now jumping into Friday in 7A Region 2, a couple of really big matchups. 4-2 Central Phoenix City will be at 5-1 Dothan. Of course, you can listen to this game on 96.9 The Legend, with pregame starting at 6:45 and kickoff is at 7. 3-2 Prattville will be at 3-2 Enterprise. That is another big matchup. You really have 6 teams fighting for 4 playoff spots in 7A Region 2 right now, and that's a big one right there between Prattville and Enterprise and what's going on with Dothan against Central Phoenix City. In 5A Region 2, 3-2 Carroll will be at 4-1 Eufaula. In 4A Region 2, 2-4 Geneva will be at 6-0 Andalusia. 2-4 Dale County will be at 2-3 Slocum. And 3A Region 2 is off this week. They are 5-1. Pike County at 3-2 will be at 0-5 New Brockton. 2A Region 2, 3-2 Cottonwood will be at 5-1 Ayrton. Geneva County at 1-4 will be at Wicksburg, who is 3-2 on the year. 3-2 GW Long will be at 2-3 Zion Chapel. 0-5 Sampson will be at 2-4 Abbeville. In 1A Region 2, Georgiana, who is 6-0 on the season, will be at Brantley, who is 4-2 right now. Red Level, who is 3-2, they will be at 5-0 Elba. You heard to talk Coach Sieving about this game. 2-3 Pleasant Home will be at 1-4 Kinston. And then in the independent ranks, Pike Liberal Arts, who's 0-5 on the year, will be at Danville, who is 1-4 on the season. And in AISA, 2-3 Abbeville Christian will be at 0-5 Sparta Academy. So that is your schedule of games for this week in high school football in Wiregrass. and I've said this several times, just keep an eye on the weather, keep an eye on local media to find out where these games are going to be played, and just more importantly, what's going on with the storm. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. Once again, thanks to Elba Tigers head coach Marc Sieving for coming on the show. And everybody just stay safe this week. What's going on, of course, the worst part of the storm does not seem to be headed our way. We're going to get some weather off of the way it looks so far. So once again, please stay safe. Everybody out there, be smart, do the right things. But whatever night, and it's safe too, we're having high school football. Go out and check out a game too as well. Support your local community by going and check out some high school football. And we'll be back next week. We'll have another podcast. We'll not take another week off. I'm here with you. Again, apologize for last week there not being an episode of the podcast. Remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, so please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. You can also check out the show over on 969thelegend.com. You can also check the show out over on my YouTube channel, Phillip Jordan Sports. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all the notifications, and also leave a comment on a episode of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. I will read that on a future edition of the show. You can always email me at sports.phillipjordan@gmail.com. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great week. Stay safe. Until next time, bye-bye.